Hey guys, this is gonna be episode 8 with Jenny Mitich. I really don't feel like I need to introduce her because I feel like most of you guys know her. But for those of you who don't, Jenny is personally one of my favorite YouTubers. She has some amazing recipes. I actually love a lot of your recipes. I can't think of any right now because I'm nervous, but I love them. And something about the way that she talks, it just encourages me. So I really would suggest you guys to go watch her videos, and I'll kind of let her tell her own story. So if you want to go ahead.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. Very, very blessed to be here today. Thank you for asking me. So I got started with carnivore through my husband. He had lost over 130 pounds on keto and using keto and water fasting, but he had been stuck at like 270 for a long time. That's when we met. He was around 270 pounds. And after I had the twins, I had a lot of weight to lose. I had like 70 pounds I had gained with them, and I was already overweight when I got pregnant. So he had found the carnivore diet through Dr. Ken Berry, as so many people in this space do. Dr. Berry is awesome. And he came to me with these videos. He's like, hey, I really want to try this diet. Will you do it with me? And I was like, absolutely not. How can you get all of the vitamins and minerals you need only eating meat? That's crazy. So I was just like, no, thank you. But then I watched the videos with him in the living room. We would just watch YouTube together all the time. And some of them would just come in and I just kind of started to absorb it, right? So then cut to like 6 months later, and I had only lost about 20 of the pounds I needed to lose. I was following just the standard advice, 1,200 calories, fruits and vegetables, lean meats, low fat, all the stuff that we always have been told. And it wasn't working for me. It was very hard for me to be consistent. I was eating a ton of fruit. Just my glucose was all over the place. And I had been tracking my glucose through a continuous glucose monitor for about 3 months and kind of seeing the data, because I'm kind of a data nerd. I really like all that kind of stuff. So I finally was just so frustrated. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give the carnivore diet 30 days. I'm going to test my glucose with the continuous glucose monitor throughout and just see what happens. I was very curious to see what would happen to my glucose and see how much weight I would lose. So I actually started the carnivore diet before my husband, which is really funny because he was the one that wanted to do it. But we staggered our start dates. So I started on December 27th, 2022, and he started on like January 8th or 9th, because with the kids, they were only a year old at that point. And I was like, we can't both have keto flu at the same time with 1-year-old twins. That's not going to work. So I started and I lost 8 pounds the first month. And my glucose went from an average of like the low 100s down to the low to mid 80s. So a drastic normalization of my glucose. And I had a horrible time the first month. My keto flu was very severe, probably for about 6 weeks. I now know that a lot of that was oxalate dumping because I had been consuming just like sweet potatoes, kiwi, quinoa, dark chocolate, raspberries, just all of this stuff that was really high oxalate every single day for like a year or two. And then I just went cold turkey, which you really shouldn't do. I know that now, didn't know it before. So yeah, but I lost so much weight and had that was amazing. I had been trying to lose weight on and off my whole life, and I'd never lost that much in a month. So I was like, there's something to this. So I committed to another 30 days. That 30 days, I reintroduced dairy, and I only lost 2 pounds. So I was like, okay, let's cut the dairy. And then that third month, did it again, and I lost another 6 pounds. So it was like 15 and a half, 16 pounds the first 3 months, which was, I had lost 21 pounds in a year following the other way of eating. So I'm like, okay, I'm sticking to this. Plus I felt so much better. My mental health stuff improved. I had been suffering from a lot of anxiety and depression my entire life, and I no longer had to take medication for that. I had to take Xanax every day before that for anxiety, and I didn't have to anymore. So I've just kind of continued on, and I started sharing about my journey, my carnivore journey on YouTube in June of 2023. I had a couple of videos that really took off. My channel before that was like a twin mom lifestyle channel. And we have 2 other YouTube channels. It's an Airstream renovation and travel channel and a like camping and outdoor adventure channel. So I'd had some experience with YouTube videos, but these 2 just took off. And my channel just kind of evolved into a carnivore education channel. And that's what it is now. I do a lot of like beginner carnivore videos. If I get a lot of questions on YouTube from my viewers, I put a video together and answer it for them. I do a lot of N of 1 experiments. So a lot of like blood work, DEXA scans, continuous glucose monitoring, things like that with different questions like, what would happen if I ate just sardines for 14 days? I did a 8-day sugar diet experiment because the sugar diet had been like kind of this viral, trendy thing. And I wanted to be able to show people what would actually happen to their metabolic health. Who cares if you're just losing weight? What's happening inside? So I do a lot of those N of 1 experiments, and then I do a lot of recipes, which I'm thank you for saying that you like them. I'm not really much of a chef. Like I'll put stuff together, but typically I'm just making recipes for you guys because some people need more variety. For me, I'm so boring. I just eat like steak, ground beef, eggs, bacon, sausage, and pork chops, and chicken wings. I love chicken wings, but like that's the bulk of my diet. I'm the most boring person on the planet, but I like to make the recipes for once in a blue moon, So yeah, that's kind of me and my channel in a nutshell.
That's awesome. I'm so like anytime I hear just like a story of somebody who is like really struggling before carnivore, whether it be hormonal issues or like just struggling with weight, it always makes me so happy because I don't know why. It just makes me so happy.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I mean, it warms my heart. So I really want to talk about your book because I recently came out with my book.
Yes.
And it didn't, like, I'd had this plan in my head for like months and months and months. So when I started writing, it just flowed, and it didn't take me very long to write mine. But I assumed that you were working on yours for ages because the amount of stuff that you say you have in there is crazy. So can we just talk about that? Just give me a rundown of like what to expect when you read it, like,
Yeah, sure. So it is called Complete Carnivore. I envisioned it as a complete in-depth guide to the carnivore diet. Excuse me. So I wanted this book to be something that a brand new carnivore could use, somebody that had been on it for a year or somebody that had been on it for 15 years. There's something for everybody. So basically the first half of the book is like 250 pages. It's a complete in-depth guide to the carnivore diet. It walks you through exactly how to get started, how to prepare your kitchen, talks about if you had been consuming a lot of high oxalate foods, how you should do a gradual carb reduction, goes through that whole process. I talk a lot about, figuring out your why. Why are you doing carnivore in the first place? Figuring out what version of carnivore, like what level of strictness works best for you. And we dive into all of that kind of stuff. And then I dive into like troubleshooting. So if you run into some issues on carnivore, happens to everybody, some like specific guides on what to do for certain situations, a whole FAQ chapter, dispelling carnivore myths. And then I have a whole chapter on monitoring your progress that kind of goes back to all of those N of 1 experiments where I've learned so much about blood work and all that kind of stuff that dives into all of that. So if you wanted to order your own blood work online, it will give you the functional medicine ranges that are optimal for like optimal metabolic health, like things you can aim for, and also gives you techniques on how you can get there. And then the whole second half of the book is 80 carnivore recipes. So went through appetizers, breakfasts, dinners, holidays, desserts. I even threw in a few keto cheat meals because I do like vegetables. I just only eat them once in a while. And when we do, I shared some of my favorite recipes that we are putting together. So yeah, it's a big book. It took a while to write. And you've written a book. It's a lot of work. Like I always wanted to write one, but I didn't know how hard it would be. And I wrote this during a time when I had a family member in the hospital. I actually signed the book deal while my family member was in the hospital. So it was like one of the most stressful times in my entire life. So I banged that thing out real quick. But man, I was basically working from like dawn until I went to bed for about 6 months. I got the deal on July 3rd, 2024, and I submitted the final manuscript on December 12th, 2024. So
that's really quick.
Oh my God, it's so quick, especially it's basically 2 books in one. I mean, the first half of the book is a book, it's on its own. And then you have 80 recipes, which is a standard recipe book. Like Courtney Luna's book has like 75 recipes in it. So yeah. And working with this publishing company, I had to take all my own photos. So I had to learn that too. That was a learning curve. But you know what? It was a lot of work, but I think it's going to help a lot of people. And I wrote it in a way that everybody can understand. I mean, I can get kind of sciencey sometimes because I like that kind of stuff, but I really wanted it to be accessible to everybody. So there's something in there for everyone. And I think if people get this book and just implement it for 30 to 90 days, they can see some profound changes in their overall metabolic health and longevity. And it was totally worth it. I'm actually in the process of editing it right now. So I did the first line of edits, and then they've just laid everything out like in book form. So now we have to go through and make sure it all looks good. And we're hopefully going to be sending it for printing the beginning of September.
That's awesome. So before I actually started writing my book, I'd already known a lot about book writing because if you don't know this about me, I'm obsessed with reading, like not necessarily diet books or anything like that. Like I get bored too easily reading stuff like that. But like fantasy novels, I've got 3 giant bookshelves in my room stacked full. So I'd already had an idea for what I want to do for my personal novel, and I wrote it, and that was it. I never really published it because when I researched how to do this, I'm like, that's too much for me. So when I started writing, my book, which it's little, it's only 80 pages. Dang it, I just dropped a whole stack of them. But I was like, well, I want to make this short and simple. I don't want people to go into this being intimidated. So I guess we kind of had opposite views, but I wanted mine to be almost everything simplified, to give you what to read that makes sense. And then that way, if you're curious about that topic, you can research more into it because, at least that's how I am personally. Like I read something and then I don't want them to give me all the information because I don't know if I trust that source. I want to go back and look at different sources and different studies. So that's kind of what I wanted my book to be. So obviously mine did not take nearly as much time to write. But yeah, I just kind of put everything in my head on a sheet of paper, and that's my book.
That's great. Yeah, I can't wait to read it. We need more people in your generation learning and knowing about the healing power of the carnivore diet. I'm 41, but I was 16 once. And, back in the day, gosh, totally different world. No, no cell phones, no nothing. Nowadays, you guys have so much coming at you.
Yes.
And the food is just so much more garbagey. So I was very encouraged when you emailed me and let me know, like I had written this book and I had this podcast. I'm like, that's awesome. We need more of that for sure.
Yeah. And like at first, because I was emailing everybody, like every single carnivore person on social media, I was emailing them. And I was like, I don't want these people to think I'm trying to get them to promote my book. Because I'm like, well, that's kind of shady. Because, like you get sponsors and all this and all that. And like, me asking you to promote my book for free. I mean, I don't have money to pay anybody. But I was like, well, maybe if somebody's interested in it, I can get the word out somehow. So I have a couple of people who wanted it to read and just to keep it for themselves. I don't know what they're going to do with it beyond that, but it's always up to them. And then I have people, so I think you and Carrie and then Brian, he's kind of a smaller influencer, but he has Instagram. So Hunter Gatherer Mindset is his Instagram. And all 3 of y'all have been like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. I'd love to share this. So that's honestly made me so happy.
Yeah, definitely. And self-promotion is part of the game, it's part of how you get your name out there. There's no way I would have known who you were unless you had emailed me. So don't ever feel like, oh, I'm doing self-promote. That's how you get there.
Yeah.
The self-promotion. It's not like you're being pushy. You're just sending an email. That's all you're doing.
Well, I actually had Maria, so I sent it to Maria Emmerich, and she was like, oh, this is awesome. But she's like, you didn't include me in the resources page. I was like, oh, I'm sorry.
I love Maria. Maria is such a good person. She's very...
I know. She's so sweet, and I like sent her a whole message about how much I loved her. She's like, oh, you're making me cry. I was like, I'm sorry. I was trying to, there's a lot of big carnivore diet influencers that if you search carnivore diet, they're going to come up. So I wanted to give, the spotlight in my book to smaller people who maybe don't have as many subscribers, but still put out good content.
Sure.
Because, you Google carnivore diet YouTube videos, you're going to get, you, Maria, Sean Baker, Anthony Chafee, Kelly Hogan, but you're not going to get, people like me to show up. So that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to help out other people, but I did end up putting Maria in there as like a, dang it, I keep dropping these books, as a, recipe person. So if you want recipes, go to Maria because she's got like thousands of them.
So many recipes. Like you would never, if you cooked a recipe of hers every day for the rest of your life, you would never run out of recipes.
I know. I love taking her keto recipes and like modifying them to make them carnivore.
Yeah.
Oh God, I forgot where I was gonna go.
It's okay.
So I'd honestly love to talk about your experience with being a mom carnivore because my plan, and one of the reasons I wrote this book is because I want to become a health coach. And, Dr. Kiltz has actually given me the opportunity to become certified through his coaching thing.
That's great. I love Dr. Kiltz. Dr. Kiltz is one of my favorite human beings.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I was talking to one of my mom friends and I was like, well, what would you want if you wanted a course? She told me a book. So I asked her what she wanted in a book and I kind of just wrote that too as well, but I put my own spin to it. But I would love to just hear what carnivore has done for you as a mom, not even as a person who lives an everyday life, but how it's changed maybe your relationship with your kids or how you view parenting.
Sure. My boys were very young when I started. They were 1. So we had just gotten them on to like whole milk and we were doing kind of organic fruits and vegetables, meat, and things like that already. I kind of followed like a baby-led weaning style of food. I would do things a little differently now that I've been carnivore for this long. If we decide to have another child, I'd probably do more of a meat-heavy animal fat style weaning. But anyways, they were good. But it definitely gave me more energy to show up every day. Twins are hard. Any baby is hard. Let's put it that way. But I didn't know any different. I had 2 babies and it's a lot of work. And I had never wanted to be a mom my entire life. It wasn't something that I ever wanted until I was in my mid-30s. And then I was like, you know what? I think I want to have some kids. And I was married to the love of my life, Goran. We're best friends. And it's really important to have a good partner before you have kids, because you're kind of stuck with them for the rest of your life, right? So like he and I had a really good relationship. We're like, okay, but let's have kids. And I was scared I was going to be a horrible mom just because you don't know. I had no idea. I'm a great mom. Like I figured that out very quickly. But being carnivore allows me to be mentally stable and healthy. I'm physically healthy. I have the ability to, stand up and sit down and stand up and sit down. These kids are huge. Okay. They're 3.5 and they're like 45, 50 pounds each. So I got to lug these 2 kids around, and they are just little balls of energy. So anything I can do to keep up, because I am an older mom. Like I had them when I was 37. I'm currently 41. Goran, my husband, is 50. So we're old parents. We're old fogies with kids. What are we doing? But you know what? With carnivore, we're able to I just function more efficiently, I guess. And then that has translated into what I feed my kids. So my boys are so tall. They're already half my height. They're 3.5.
They're going to be huge.
They're going to be huge. I know. And they don't have like an ounce of fat on their body. I call them, they look very sturdy. Like they have baby abs. I'm like, what is going on right now? They eat an animal-based diet. So they're not fully carnivore like mom and dad. And that's okay. When you're that young, you're metabolically flexible. The world hasn't ruined you yet, So what we do with them is they eat meat at every meal. We have like bacon and sausage for breakfast, and then they'll have like some raspberries and some strawberries. I'll do like the organic applesauce packets that are unsweetened. We'll do organic yogurt bites. They really like those. And then we pretty much only eat like twice a day. They do too. They drink a lot of whole milk, a lot. of whole milk. They drink sparkling water and regular water. They'll have a sip of my husband's Coke Zero from time to time, but the bulk of what they're drinking is those 3 items. Then for dinner, we'll do like, I don't know, there's this organic chicken noodle soup that I found that Harry really likes. And they'll eat whatever meat we're cooking. So like if we're doing steak or pork chop or whatever, they'll eat that. All beef hot dogs from Costco. They love those. They're like on a cold meat kick. Like Harry will come up and be like, I want a cold hot dog. I'm like, okay, whatever, so they'll eat that. But meat and fruit is the bulk of their diet. They do a little bit of like if they go over to Goran's parents' house, they're Serbian American. So they have a lot of, Serbian foods that they'll cook and eat, which is really meat. It's a meat heavy cuisine. So that's cool. But they'll have like some bread over there, or if she'll make a soup or something, and whatever she's cooking for them, she always makes sure it's like organic ingredients and good like that. But like, I never wanted it to be where my kids would never have a piece of bread. Do you know what I mean? Like I wanted them to be able to have that, but like in the way that you're supposed to, like once in a while. They don't really eat sweet stuff. We get them a cake every year for their birthday, and they refuse to eat it. It's too sweet. Halloween, we do trick or treat, and we allow them to have like 3 pieces of candy, and they never wanted it until last year. They tried it for the first time. They're like, oh, this is pretty good. But then I threw the rest of it away. I actually gave it to the neighbors because I don't like to throw that stuff away. But yeah. Carnivore has informed just like my health and my kids' health. And I'm really glad that I found it when they were so young, because they are going to reap the benefits of eating a whole real food diet. They started reading at 2.5. Now, granted, like I'm a big reader too, just like you. We read with them all the time. Every day. We have morning reading time, evening reading time. We read to them. I'm constantly reading, so they see it. But the fact that they were like full-blown reading, I'm not talking just like cat, dog, like reading sentences on the TV, like they can read at 2.5, I think is a testament to the nutrition that they're getting on a daily basis through all that meat. They tower over kids that are like 5 or 6. It's wild. It's crazy. Meat is like the best food that kids can eat. So eat as much of it as you can,
I agree with that. So I want to know if your kids, when I was young, I used to go into the fridge and just eat cold butter, and I always got yelled at for it, but I'm assuming your kids probably do that.
Yeah. Well, they can't reach it, but they'll be like, Mom, I want some butter. So I cut them off some. Yeah. I gave it to them for the first time just maybe about a year ago. They were like, I'm like, here, you want to try this? And they loved it. So now they eat it. Yeah. Yeah, they like it too. I eat cold butter. I do frozen though. I like frozen butter.
I have like when I was little, I mean like their age, I have a very distinct memory of being on a very meat heavy diet. Just because, my grandparents raised me. Yeah. So my grandpa, he loves meat. That's his favorite thing. And I wish he would do carnivore, but people do what they want. So yeah, I just remember that. And I was reading really early too. I mean, when I was in preschool, so what's that? I was like 4. I was reading chapter books, like not giant, chapter books, but like little kid chapter books.
But most kids at 4 don't even know how to read. So
yeah,
that's huge.
And I'm seeing now that most kids can't read and they're in like 3rd grade. I'm like, this has got to be the food.
It plays a part. It definitely plays a part.
Yes. And with the height thing, okay, so I stopped growing when I was like 11 or 12. So I was stuck at like 5 foot, 5'1"ish. I started carnivore 15 months ago. So yeah, it'd be 15 months August. And no, 15 months this month. Whatever. I've gone a little over an inch, maybe more than that. I haven't measured myself in a while, and I went up a whole shoe size. So I had to throw out all of my shoes and buy new shoes, which kind of made me mad because I like my shoes. But that's just like to say that even though I was done growing, I grew more.
Maybe you weren't. You're still so young that perhaps your body just was like, give me that nutrition. And it's like, all right, I'm ready to keep going.
Yeah, and I saw an influencer who does carnivore, and she was like 21, 22, something like that, and she grew a little bit too. I don't know how much, but I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not the only person.
Yeah, I've actually never heard of that before, but the human body is an amazing thing, and I think that can definitely happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm like, your kids are going to be like 6'5". They're going to be
Well,
huge.
they have an uncle that's very, very tall. Goran is 6 foot, but their uncle is like maybe 6'5". So we'll see. It's definitely, genetically in there somewhere, but I think with the meat, it's going to give them an extra boost. So we'll see.
Okay. Your hair is like my same color. So when I went carnivore, my hair color changed.
Yeah.
I had very dark, like this color hair, and this is dye right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, my hair changed to like a lighter, dark brown, almost blonde color, and like you can kind of see it right now because my hair's dyed black and my roots have grown out. But I'm like, that's crazy. And maybe I think it's not really just that my hair color changed, but I think it's because I had so much energy that I was out in the sun all day, and that's what changed my hair color.
Maybe.
But have you noticed that at all?
Well, I've noticed that especially with my husband. So he used to have a lot more gray hair,
Mm-hmm.
and his hair is much darker now. Like he doesn't have as many grays. For me, I dye my hair. My natural hair, I've been dyeing it since I was like 13. My natural hair color is like light brown. It hasn't been that for years, but I've noticed I do get grays, but I only have a little bit, like right over here and a little bit here, and it really hasn't gotten any worse. I'm not going to say it's gotten better either, but I mean, I know some of my friends similar age that are like full gray. So I think there is something to that. That's something I want to learn more about.
Yeah,
I know Carrie's talked about it on his channel, how him and his wife's hair the grays have gone. That's something I want to dive into. I'm curious of the mechanism behind it. Like, what is that's doing that,
Yeah. I've heard that, just your body, when you're not eating enough food or proper nutrients in food, that's why people who have like eating disorders, their hair starts to fall out. That's the first thing that happens. But they also grow, if they're like skinny, they grow excess hair on their arms to keep them warm. And I've heard that the lack of nutrients in your body, it causes you to not put the melanin in your hair and instead use that to fuel yourself. And I feel like I'm not explaining this properly,
No.
but you understand.
You've got the gist. Yeah. So like if you're not getting enough amino acids and proteins and nutrients and things, the very first thing that your body is going to deprioritize is your fingernails and your hair.
Yes.
Because it's trying to stay alive. It's going to use everything it gets for your organs and for temperature regulation and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, you're completely correct on that.
So you just explained that way better than me. I was trying to think of like, what am I trying to say?
It's all good. I've been in this space for just a little bit longer than you, so you'll get there. I know you will.
So you have hypothyroidism, and I know that it's something that's very, very common with women now. And you didn't even get diagnosed till you were already in carnivore, I believe.
Correct.
So do you think getting that diagnosis has just helped you understand maybe why carnivore wasn't working for you as well as it was for other people, or why you were having certain symptoms?
Yeah.
And since getting that diagnosis, what have you changed to maybe help with it?
Sure. That's a really good question. So I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's last summer, but I had my first bout of hair loss and fatigue at month 4 on the carnivore diet. So 2023, like April. And at first I thought I just wasn't eating enough protein. I thought it was telogen effluvium, which is just, your hair can fall out from stressful things happening to you, a death in the family, a surgery, childbirth, or extreme diet change. So I thought it was that. And the fatigue went away, but it would come back periodically. It's very frustrating. I went to my conventional doctor. They were like, oh, you're fine. Your TSH is normal. We can't test anything else. And I'm like, what? That's crazy. And that's what most people are going to get from their conventional doctor. So finally, I met Dr. Amy Horniman at Hack Your Health in May of last year. And we decided to do a collab together. I ran a full thyroid panel and she interpreted it for me. I have a video on my channel about that. And it turns out I have Hashimoto's, which makes complete sense because the fatigue is just debilitating. Like, I can only imagine how much more I could get done if I wasn't so tired all the time. So I have been going down like a rabbit hole for Hashimoto's. So I do not think that carnivore caused my Hashimoto's. I know there's a lot of people out there that think that not eating carbs is bad for your thyroid, and I strongly disagree with that. I have tried to reincorporate fruits and vegetables this year several times, and every time I do it, I feel worse. I do not feel better, and I had gained like 9 pounds of fat doing this because I get DEXA scans all the time. What I think the root cause issue is, no one really knows the exact because there's not just one. It's kind of a plethora of things. So I'm 41. I used to drink alcohol like a fish. I also am a former heroin addict. I've been clean for almost 15 years. So all of this stuff from my past, I think, has influenced some of my issues today. I think we live in a world where our water is so polluted with chemicals, forever chemicals, microplastics. People flush their medications down the toilet, and the water filtration systems can get some of that out, but not all of it. I run my water through a Berkey. I think in like environmental toxins, air pollution, just from being in a house, mold. There's so many things, and then like all of the things that you eat and consume. And from what I've been learning recently is a lot of most autoimmune conditions are root caused by a leaky gut. So if you address the gut and you get all of that nice and tight again, you can resolve the autoimmune condition. So that's kind of what I've been focusing on now. I am back to a very strict carnivore diet. As we're talking, I'm drinking a bone broth that I made from cow's feet, pork shank, and pork tails. I boiled it for like 10 hours, and it's very collagen rich and has all that connective tissue in it. That can really help to seal up your intestines again. Because what happens in a leaky gut is the junctures between the cells kind of loosen, and stuff that's supposed to stay in your intestine goes out. And that's why you start to have this issue. Like mine is an autoimmune thyroid issue. I don't have like hypothyroid would be like a full blown. This is an autoimmune thyroid issue where my body is attacking its own thyroid. But why? Why is that happening? I think it's because of a combination of leaky gut. I think it's the leaky gut caused by a bunch of stuff from my past. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Strict carnivore, I'm doing these bone broth a few times a day. I've also incorporated L-glutamine powder. Mm-hmm. It's a amino acid supplement that is like really, really, really effective in tightening up those cell junctures. So I'm doing that, and collagen. I'm adding collagen to the bone broth. And then from there, I am hoping I'm going to do that for like the next month or two. I have seen some improvements in my fatigue. I am taking thyroid medication as well. That was kind of the first line. I'm working with a functional medicine practitioner to do that. But I was still tired. So I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I've been going down rabbit holes, and that's kind of what I've figured out thus far. As soon as I do figure it out, though, I'm going to create an entire video around it with the exact protocol that I used. I'm not a big fan of like gatekeeping. I don't want to keep things behind a paywall. I like to just, get that out there for free so that people can heal. Because man, Hashimoto's is not fun. It is not fun at all.
Yeah, so with my endometriosis, that was one of the things I experienced too, like extreme fatigue. It was like you couldn't even force yourself out of bed, and it was almost like depression. Like you couldn't. It was like just so depressing. And that's what made me like get depressed in the first place, being like, I want to go do stuff, but I can't. Even though mine probably didn't last in like very long, because I started carnivore only after like a year and a half of maybe having these symptoms. So I'm sure long time of not doing carnivore, or not. I'm sure if I would have kept on the path I was on, it would have been gotten much, much worse.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think all of those things kind of just compound over time. And
Mm-hmm.
you're very lucky that you found carnivore as early as you did, because you've minimized the damage and you've healed and you don't have to suffer anymore because that's debilitating.
Yes. Yeah, and it's I know how hard it is to be a mom and have to deal with that because my mom dealt with it and maybe her fatigue isn't as bad as yours was. But you have something that you have to show up to every day. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's not like you can call out of work. You have to be a mom. There's nothing else you can do. Um, so like how stressful that is. And I'm like glad you found carnivore, even if it hasn't fully cured it. At least it's helped. At least it's
Yes.
made it easier. And that's kind of what I have to tell myself sometimes because I'm not fully healed either. And, there's still things that I need to work on, but I'm like, at least I'm better than where I was. At least I'm better than
Sure.
where I was. And that's what, I try and tell people every day who come to me and be like, well, carnivore didn't solve this, carnivore didn't solve that. And I'm like, well, how long did you do it? Did you see any improvement? And that's really hard for certain people because you see these people on Instagram and Facebook and all social media platforms saying that they lost 50 pounds in a month and cured cancer on carnivore, and that's just not realistic for everybody. So I
No.
really love to hear people's stories where they had to research deeper into what was going on, and it sucks to have to do that, but it's real, it's reality for a lot of people. So
Yeah.
I'm
I mean, I would argue most people,
yes.
carnivore is not a magic bullet. It can help a lot. I would say probably 70, 80, 90% of what you have going on. But there's other issues that just can't be solved with nutrition.
Mhm.
And I think people really need to keep that in mind. And I like how you said, like, what did improve? I've never met a person that, was like, oh, nothing improved. Because why would you stay on it? You know what I mean? Most people have seen some changes, positive changes, but they want to see it all. And of
Mhm.
course, I do too. But like with Hashimoto's, part of the leaky gut issue is I'm not breaking down the nutrients that I'm eating in an efficient way. My body is not processing it correctly. So I have to give my body what it needs in order to heal. If I just ate meat, I'm probably only digesting it and using the nutrients from maybe half of it. That's part of the problem. That's not going to be solved by eating more meat. I need to solve the root cause issue, and then I will thrive fully. But that's not carnivore's fault,
No.
nor did carnivore cause my Hashimoto's. I think it just, I'm doing better than I would be if I was eating a standard American diet or if I was eating a bunch of fruits and vegetables and lean meats. I can tell you that. So, yeah, I think there's just some confusion out there about it. But yeah, carnivore is not a magic bullet. It can do a lot, but it can't do everything.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to Dr. Nelson this morning. Dr. Nelson.
Yes, I love him. He's so great.
Yes. So he was talking about like we were just on like a coaching call and he was talking about hyperinsulinemia. And I can't remember exactly of what he said causes it, but he said hyperinsulin
It's okay.
hyper
It's a
okay,
big one.
that and insulin resistance go hand in hand, but with that, PCOS, it causes PCOS symptoms to be worse. And then, like, well, what causes PCOS? Well, your hormones, and what creates your hormones, your thyroid. So I feel like, having your thyroid function be good is very important if you're dealing with any other symptoms,
Sure.
anything hormone related. And I don't know if this is something that you're interested in, but what I'm really interested in is EDCs, like endocrine disrupting chemicals. Because my mom, she's got really bad Hashimoto's as well, or hypothyroidism. I don't really know. But you know what? She uses candles every day and has always put scented lotion on her body
Yeah.
and uses perfume. And I try and tell her, I'm like, that's just gonna make it worse, but she doesn't care. And I'm like, that's stuff now that I've gone carnivore and just at least as far can get away from it as far as I can. Now being around people who wear a lot of perfume or a lot of cologne, like it instantly gives me a headache almost. It's just
Yeah.
like, oh, that stinks so bad. And when you're like I guess that has a lot to do with diet as well. Cause when I was eating a standard diet, like these smells appealed to me. But now, it's not even the fact that I know they're bad. It's just I'm completely disgusted by anything that smells almost artificial.
Yeah.
Have you noticed anything like that?
Sure. I mean, anybody with any autoimmune condition, especially anything with thyroid, should be getting rid of everything that has fragrance in it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be very cognizant of what you're putting on your skin. Your skin absorbs stuff so quick, so quick. So like I have eliminated scents in all of my laundry stuff. I don't use dryer sheets. What else? I mean, I use unscented body soap for everything. I haven't quite gotten there with my shampoo and conditioner yet because I haven't found one that's any good. But I'm working on it. You know what I mean?
The best thing I found for my hair is using raw eggs.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I have
Wow.
coconut oil in my hair right now. That's why it looks wet and greasy. But that and coconut oil or tallow, like combined, has done wonders for my hair. Because
Interesting.
I work, outside with horses all the time. That's kind of what I do. So I get really, really nasty, gross hair, and that it cleans it efficiently, and then it also moisturizes it, and it doesn't strip your oils out either. And
Huh.
then if I get really, really gross, like I know my hair is gross, I'll use Castile soap, which kind of leaves a funky feeling to your hair a little bit, but it cleans it really nice.
Nice. Yeah, I'll have to give that a try. Yeah, I mean, I think like I still use perfume. I have one brand, my Versace Bright Crystal. I've been using it forever. It's my signature scent, but I do not spray it on my skin anymore. I spray it directly on my clothing and I make sure it doesn't touch me. And I know that a little bit will. But yeah, I've never been a big fan of heavily scented things.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, scented candles. Whoa. And a lot of people think like, oh, soy candles are good, blah. Well, all soy is processed with pesticides. So you're not going to get any kind of soy candle that isn't also just filled with pesticides, in addition to whatever they're using for fragrance and all this stuff. So yeah, candles, natural beeswax is fine, things like that. But you really want to stay away from the standard, Walmart or Target scented candles. They're terrible for your endocrine system.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible.
So I was looking into incense for a while, and I talked to one of my friends, Sophia. I don't know if you know her, but she has done carnivore and like reversed anorexia too. She's kind of younger; she's in her 20s, but she was like, "No, definitely don't do incense." She's like, "Get a diffuser and use like good quality essential oils instead." So I've been doing that, and what I've noticed is I know I'm allergic to cinnamon. I've always known that I'm allergic to cinnamon. When I was young, I got like just the tiniest bit of cinnamon oil on my leg and I blistered out
Wow.
completely all over my leg. It looked like I'd had a 3rd-degree burn. But my guilty pleasure is cinnamon. I love the taste of it. I love the smell of it. So I noticed that when I would put cinnamon in the diffuser at night and I'd turn the red light on, I would wake up and I would be sniffling and like my nose would be clogged up and I would wake up with a little bit of a headache. So I'm like, okay, definitely still allergic to cinnamon.
Yeah.
Cannot use this. But it makes me sad. But then I started using like peppermint and eucalyptus and rosemary, and I wake up feeling like my nose is clear and refreshed. Oh, and then I had a recent experience with mold. So I got a new car. Well, it's not new. It's very old. It's your average teenager car.
New to
But
you.
it, had been sitting for a couple of years and, there was mold in the seats and I didn't know that it was mold. But every time I would eat for a couple of weeks, I could not eat, my normal portions of food. It was like I was starving and like starved, like I was like a freaking worm wanting to eat everything. Then I would eat and I would be full so quickly, but I would want to eat more because I'm like, well, this isn't enough to sustain me. And every time I would throw up. And I'm
Hmm.
like, it's not like I'm eating like so much. Like I physically can't do that. And then my dad was like, I think your car has mold in it. You should clean it out. So I took some lemon oil and water and vinegar and Castile soap and I like sprayed down my whole car. and vacuumed it and did it again and again and again until I was like, okay, this is probably good. And you know what? Ever since I did that, I have not been having those issues. So I really do think there was mold on my seats living in my car, like causing me issues. And I've heard like people who are already autoimmune compromised, mold is like the worst thing to ever happen.
Yes. Yeah. Mold, it's everywhere. And so many buildings are water damaged. And people don't even realize it. But yeah, mold, especially if you have autoimmune issues. Yes, it's terrible. We've suspected a mold issue in our house for a long time, but we just haven't gotten it tested yet. I don't really think it's too severe. But yeah, I mean, if you've got mold, you got to do something about it.
Mm-hmm. So you don't have any experience with mold, I'm guessing, like having symptom wise?
Not that I know of. Until I get my house tested and have it confirmed, we just have, maybe an idea that maybe there is. But no, I mean, not currently. I think it could be one of the reasons why I have my autoimmune issue. It is a possibility.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, hold on. What was I thinking? I keep forgetting. Okay, so I'll talk about something totally irrelevant to carnivore. So a lot of people who do carnivore, their, like outlook on life and beauty and all of this stuff has changed. And I know you have eyelash extensions.
I do.
So I know Maria does too, and I know Elle does too. So I'm not like coming at people for like trying to alter their appearance to what makes them happy. But have you had any like second thoughts about maybe after carnivore, before carnivore, or is it just something you enjoy having? Because
so I started doing eyelash extensions, before the boys were born.
mm-hmm.
And the reason I do it is because I hate wearing mascara and I wear contacts. And when I wear mascara, it always kind of chips off and gets into my eyeball and it hurts. So I was like, oh my God, if I can do eyelash extensions and not have to deal with that, sign me up. So I do it like every 2 weeks religiously. I also do chemical peels. I do Botox. I dye my hair every 6 weeks. I get my nails done. I feel like everybody has to kind of figure out what works for them. And there's just some things I'm not willing to give up. I really enjoy getting that done. I love skincare stuff. I think someday I'll probably get a facelift when I need it. I don't think that it has to be like once you go carnivore, you have to change everything about your life. You kind of have to pick which toxins and which things you still want to include, because I still have to live my life, and that's just kind of how I see it. If other people don't want to do it, they don't have to. But for me personally, that's just what I do. And I one of the reasons I talk about it is because I do have a lot of followers on YouTube and Instagram, and I always want to be very open and transparent about what I do, what I don't do, and why I do it and why I don't. And some of them are just simply vanity, and ease of life. And I don't see that changing. I mean, there are some things I've changed. The fragrance stuff. I don't wear makeup unless I'm shooting. Like right now I have some makeup on. Generally in my life, I don't. But then there's, sunglasses. That's a big one. I used to wear sunglasses all the time. And I have really been focusing on not wearing them. I got contacts that do not have UV blocking in them.
Yay!
So I actually found a brand that you can do that with. It took a while. So there are things that I have shifted. The more that I've learned, but then there's some things like the eyelash extensions and the nails, like, nah, I'm good. I'm going to keep getting that stuff. Hopefully everything else I've eliminated will, lower the toxin load from those, but you can't win them all.
Yeah.
Is what I'm trying to say.
I agree with that a lot because I've been thinking, like, I love my hair, but, last year I got on a kick where I'm like, oh, I want to be blonde. So I was like totally against putting bleach in my hair because I can do all this stuff myself. Like I've done my own eyelash extensions. I had hair extensions for a little bit, and for whatever reason, bleach coming in contact with my skin gives me the worst psoriasis, eczema, whatever. So I'm like, I'm not using bleach. So I use lemon juice to lighten my hair. And if you don't know, that dries your hair out almost more than bleach does. So now my hair is like fried. And I'm like, my hair has not grown because it keeps breaking. I want my hair extensions. I want them. And I know they're expensive, but I don't really care that much. I'm like, well, I don't like using shampoo. Like if it's homemade shampoo, I'll use it. If it's tallow shampoo, I'll use it. But what I've heard is that you can't use oil-based shampoos with extensions because it builds up on the oil. So I'm like, okay, let me find something that I can do, or at least see if there's a type of extensions that I can put in my hair, because last time I had extensions, I had tape-ins, and that for me was a nightmare more than anything, because my hair already takes 4 hours to dry, and then the extension hair also takes 4 hours to dry, so now I have soaking wet hair all the time. So maybe it's not a good idea for me to do that again, but I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, I want it.
Yeah. No, I feel you on that. There's just sometimes you want something. I totally get it.
So I'm like, okay, maybe if I could find a way to like cleanse my hair really effectively that doesn't have any kind of fragrance. And my skin's super sensitive too. That's like one of the big ones why I don't use shampoo. Because my skin, it's so sensitive. And I finally got it to where, I don't have eczema, psoriasis on my hands, and I don't have scalp psoriasis, and I'm so scared. I'm just going to trigger it.
Well, yeah, because that stuff is very painful and it takes a long time to heal. I mean, you've had so much healing that you don't want to ruin it. So, I mean, I commend you. Do your research, see if something out there exists that isn't going to flare up those conditions, and then maybe you can get extensions. There's so many things in this world. There has to be a product out there that isn't totally horrible for you. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much out there.
Okay, I really appreciate you coming on here. And even though I really don't feel like we talked carnivore a whole lot, but I feel like I talk carnivore so much, it's kind of refreshing to have, something aside from carnivore, especially because everybody already knows a lot of your story. And even though I didn't know all of it until now, like I know most of it now. And I'm sure there's things that like there's things I'm not going to share on the internet. Everybody's got their stuff they're not going to blast on social media, but everybody could watch your YouTube videos. So I like to talk about stuff that's maybe not gonna go viral on YouTube. Maybe that's why I don't go viral. But I really want to thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
And this has been an awesome conversation. I really enjoy just hearing your story and hearing your perspective on things. And I guess this could be considered a part 1 because there's going to be my interview on her channel. So
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me on. This was so much fun. And I think we did cover a lot of carnivore stuff, but not everything in life is carnivore. So it's always good to chat about other things too.
Okay. Well, have a good day, guys. Oh, hold on.